All right. Welcome back, everybody, to Pivot Point of View. I'm Destry Millsap along with Becky Pearson. And today we are going to be talking about mindset. So, there's been some things this week, but in particular, that I've talked to people about, that I've seen, that I've heard. And, let's go back to when we were all kids growing up, cowboys and cowgirls. What are we always told? And one of the first things that we're told is if you get bucked off, you got to get back on. And
Mhm.
why are we told that? Grandpa might have told you that it's because we don't quit. We got to keep going. We got to get back on that horse. We can't let it win. But really, what's happening is you are creating pathways in your brain that make grit, resilience, and the ability to adapt all a part of your being. And so at that point, you are already training your brain to overcome what obstacles come at you in your life. So, I mean, we get that from a very young age. And if you didn't grow up in the Western industry as a cowboy or cowgirl, that obviously looks different for you. I'm not sure what that looks like. That's how we grew up. We
Mhm.
grew up, you get back on the horse when you get bucked off, and you take that with you the entire rest of your life, no matter what you're doing, whether it's in your job that you get once you get off the ranch, or school or sports or whatever it is that you're doing. You take that with you the whole rest of your life, and you learn to train yourself to overcome things using that principle. And so, some of the people that I've talked to, it's like, you know, they at some point stopped getting back on that horse.
Mhm.
And they've just accepted, like, man, this is how it's gonna be. And I'm not better than this, and my back's always gonna hurt, or I'm not gonna be able to find another relationship, or whatever it is. And at some point they stopped getting back on that horse. And so I would ask you today, why did you stop getting back on that horse?
Mhm. Yeah, same thing. Like this week, I have had so many people that, um, as I'm talking to them, whether it's somebody at the rodeo that I'm evaling or someone at the nursing home that I'm working with, like it boils down to being mentally tough enough to do the crap that you need to do. And I think it's something that we all struggle with at one point or the other. You're not born with these mechanisms. It definitely is a habit that you have to develop. It is just like training for anything else. You have to train your brain to be mentally tough to get to the point where you want to be. And so, like, how does that work? Like the mental toughness to lose weight, the mental discipline to exercise every day, the mental um, discipline it takes to keep going in your business and when things seem like they just aren't working. And so that's why I really wanted to talk about this because like I don't know how many times just this week I've said, what other choice do you have? You got to freaking keep going, like little old lady in the nursing home the other day. I mean, she's like, "Oh, this hurts when I do this exercise." I'm like, "Okay, where is it?" We talk about it. I wasn't ignoring her, but I'm like, "Ma'am, you gotta keep going." Like, well, it hurts to walk. Yeah, and it hurts me to exercise, but you gotta keep freaking walking. Like you gotta keep doing what you have to do, and so you've got to train your brain to make yourself do the hard stuff.
And I've looked into this. I'm not making this up. I mean, literal negative thoughts shrink the prefrontal cortex in your brain. And positive thoughts, guess what they do? They make it stronger. And so what you tell yourself is everything. And it all started when you got bucked off that first horse. You
Mhm.
told yourself, hey, I'm going to overcome this. I'm going to get back on and I'm going to keep doing my best.
Mhm.
Maybe we're crazy for that. I don't know. I mean, even to the point today where I'm walking up the stairs to the locker room and before my workout and my knees hurting and whatever. And I'm like, no, sir, I need a lot more mileage out of you. And so what do I do in my workout? I go right at it. And by the end of my workout, it doesn't hurt anymore
Mhm.
because I just kept going and I kept training because I don't have a choice. I've got this knee has got to last.
Mhm.
And for me to reach my goals, I got to go right at it. I can't run away from it. When you run away from stuff, it's still there. I
Mhm.
mean,
Mhm.
it's gonna be right there waiting for you. So you got to face it head on, and that mentality is truly what shapes you. The fight or flight. Are you gonna sit there and fight it out and face it, or are you gonna run from it? And those become habits the rest of your life. Whether you quit a sports team or quit a relationship, that it all goes together at some point.
Mhm.
If you start quitting stuff, it's a little bit easier to quit the next thing, a little bit easier to quit the next thing. But if you
Mhm.
figure out how to fight through it and you figure out who you are when your back's against the wall, it looks a little different. You don't
Mhm.
have anywhere to go when your back's against the wall. So you only have one choice, and that is fight.
Mhm. You know, so that kind of like, what's your why? You know, and you have to have a greater reason to change, to go through the pain of changing, because changing is painful. It is very, very painful. And so, um, so whether that's the refusing the dessert, you know, to lose that weight, or it's the going, you know, I wanted to quit this morning at 15 minutes on the elliptical. I was not feeling it. But my why is that I've got to get in shape because I want to ride my horse better. Okay. And so I pushed it out to the 30. And I even accomplished my 3 miles in less than 30 minutes, which that's always my goal, is to get there. And so, like, you've got to have your why defined. Like, why are you doing it? Why do you have your goals set for your competition? Why? You know, like, why do you do it? So, like, you know, couple of my whys, like I want Pivot Point to be successful. I want us to be able to help as many people as possible reach their goals. That's one of my whys with my business. And then my why for my personal workout, like I gotta walk the walk, not just talk the talk. You know, like I've got to be able to keep myself strong, fit, if I expect others to do it. I've got to lead by example for my kids, for my clients. I've got to fulfill the purpose that God put me on this earth. You know, those are my whys. And so, like, why, Destry, why do you get up in the morning and go work out? Why do you compete? What is your why?
My why is for a lot of reasons, and I just want to touch on that toughness looks different. That like there's different forms of toughness. You might think that toughness, when I was growing up, I thought toughness was all about physical toughness and getting knocked down, getting back up, you know, getting hurt and pushing through it, stuff like that. But toughness, there's also mental toughness and then spiritual toughness. And what do you do? Who do you turn to on your absolute darkest of days? And so where it starts for me is my why is if I'm not my best self, I'm no good to anybody else.
Mhm.
Period. Whether it's here taking care of athletes or in my relationship with my wife or for my horses, that's why I get up and go work out is because if I'm going to be my best for my horses, I have to take care of my body and prepare my body to be ready for the demands of that.
Mhm.
If I'm going to be better for my wife, then I have to look at what am I putting in my brain and how can I improve my emotional intelligence. So I can be there for her in the
How does
ways
that
that she
work
needs
out
me to
for
be
you?
there. You know, I don't know where my grade of emotional intelligence is. That's usually for other people to decide. So if you want to know what that one is, you can just ask her. But reach out to her, ask her where my emotional intelligence is. But and then spiritually, I got to be the best I can for God and make Him proud and stuff like that too. So um, there's a lot of reasons why I am the way that I am,
Mhm,
and that goes for anybody. So you have to just focus on who is that person that you want to be when you look at your life. If you could live a life without fear, without doubt, and you can truly imagine that, what does that look like for you?
mhm,
And if you just focus on that and fill your brain with that, it all starts to come together.
mhm,
Then when you stop worrying about, oh, maybe I'm not good enough, which I struggle with all the time. And it like destroyed me earlier in my life, and it's still a fight.
mhm,
Or you start telling yourself, man, if I didn't fear this, what could I do? How good could I be? If I
mhm,
wasn't scared to fail, how good could I be? How could my business be? How good of a roper could I be? How good of a husband could I be if
mhm,
I wasn't scared to put myself out there and fail, but also the bigger the risk, sometimes the bigger the reward.
mhm,
So, and if you fall down, you're just gonna learn from it if that's your approach.
mhm.
If you fail and you run from it, you don't learn anything, that's different.
Yeah, I think when we start comparing ourselves to others, like that's when we can really get down on ourselves. Like I I I don't really look too much on social media and other places about what other people are doing in regards to this. Maybe I should. I don't know. I mean, we kind of have our own thing, and I don't think there's too many people out there doing what we're doing. But uh, I think, it's easy to get caught up when we're competing, looking at, well, gosh dang, I wasn't in the 1D, or I didn't, make, I didn't run like so and so, or whatever. But, you know, I always really try to just look at where I was at last week, last month, last year, and am I better than I was then? And if I'm not, why? Like, what changed in my life? What did I start not doing that made me slide backwards? Because sometimes it's just those little things. Our good friend Phil Hagen always says, these things are easy to do, but they're easy not to do. It's same thing with exercise, same thing with nutrition, same, it's all of it. Like these are easy little changes that you can do to help either improve yourself or not improve yourself and slide backwards. And so maybe there's some things that you used to do that you quit doing from one reason or another. You got busy and you just got out of the habit of working out or whatever. And so that started creating a backslide of things. And so I think self-reflection is really important, and give yourself some grace if you went through some hard times. But because we're all going to get knocked down, but you can't stay down. You got to get back up on that horse. You got to do it. And so because what other choice do you have? You don't want to be still laying there on the ground a month later. You just can't.
So so this week, there's a couple of great points there. First of all, I mean, comparison, you nailed it, is the thief of joy. And without joy, you have no peace.
Mhm,
So always comparing yourself to what this person had. Well, that person's not you. You can only
mhm,
control you. You can't control if people appreciate you, if they
mhm,
recognize what you're doing. You can only control your effort and your approach to being your best every single day. And when you master that and you quit caring about or worrying about what other people think or appreciate or anything like that because that's out of your control. It's almost like a superpower at that point.
Mhm.
So I'll give an example. So the other day I worked on somebody and didn't really get the results that I wanted out of the deal. I tried my best. I did everything that I could. Just didn't quite get the end result that I wanted. And so, it bothered me for a little bit, but looking back on it and thinking about it, I was like, okay, what could I have done better? Is there a different approach I should take? So then I just go to looking for different approaches. So the next time that I see that person, I got something better for them.
Mhm.
And if I'm still worrying about what happened with that client or that athlete, then I'm not going to be my best for the next person. So
Mhm.
really, the most important client, athlete, horse you're going to train, whatever it is the next one. As long as you
Mhm.
learned from the previous ones. If it didn't go how you wanted or you're looking to improve, you just got to learn from that stuff. I mean, how many times, Becky, when you're growing up and training horses and stuff like that, and you're like, man, if I would have known that back then, what could I have done for that horse? Or
Mhm.
man, I can't believe I used to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So the self reflection part is everything in that growth process and getting better, especially if you make a mistake or even if things just don't go your way. Sometimes stuff just doesn't go your way,
Mhm.
and and you're just being tested at that point. How are you going to respond when things don't go your way? Because it's going to happen. You can prepare all that you want, but they're only going to give one gold buckle out at the end of the day.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and I think, we've talked about this in other realms and other avenues. We talked about it with our Fort Hayes athletes, and I think we've talked about it on here before, but like really linking your self, like your confidence to your intention versus the results that you get in the arena. Because, like you just said, there's so many factors that play into what happens in the arena or the arena of life that are out of your control. But what you can control is your effort and your intention. And so, like, I always had to do this with my kids before they would go in. They can't think of a million things in their mind, like, oh, you got to hold your rein like this, you got to sit here, you got to, look, turn, this, whip, kick, blah, 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 all the things that you hear people yell. And I tried to just get them to focus on one thing when they went running through the gate, like what was that main point that I think that they needed to make sure they do. Um, and if they came out and they did that, it was a win. It didn't matter what happened out there in the arena, but if they, sat at the point where they needed to sit or they were able to, do whatever, get that horse deep enough up into the turn that they didn't tip the barrel, or they got that first barrel better. They didn't check so hard that the horse's head, flew up in the air, that they just melted down in that saddle. And so you really gotta look at what was your intention and did you execute that? And then that is where your success lies, not did you win the buckle that day? Because if you execute what you need to, the results will come, especially if you are, um, training with good people that are knowledgeable. If you're having struggles and you need help, finding somebody that doesn't play into the minutia, but just really helps you get dialed in on what you need to do. But getting that intention, making sure you're focusing on your intention instead of the results.
I agree. I think a lot of us are guilty of just focusing on the outcome to the point where some of us don't have a plan to even get to that outcome. So again, I'll give an example. Working with somebody in our profession that, we're doing everything we can, but man, their mind just isn't in it. Like they don't want to try to get better.
Mhm.
And we're exhausting every option we can. And at the end of the day, if they don't want to try to help themselves get better, there's there's really not much else that we can do. And we can let that define us and get us down. But and I'm not saying that like if I don't fix somebody, it's their fault, because I'm just gonna keep giving my best shot every single time. But it kind of is a two-way street. And then
Mhm.
like training horses, you do your best, you're trying to do everything that you can to make that horse great. Well, some horses don't want to be rope horses, or some horses don't want to be barrel horses.
Mhm.
And you can make them have the prettiest turns and do everything correctly and scores good and everything else, but maybe they just aren't going to be that horse. And that's not on you. Sometimes genetics plays a factor. Sometimes they just don't have the heart to do it.
Mhm.
And that's not on you. And but a lot of people take those things personally. I used to take them personally.
Mhm.
And but if you use it in the correct way and use it to look at those things in a real 10,000-foot view and be like, all right, is there something I could have done better there? And most of the time, you're going to find that there was something else that you could have done that you didn't know about.
Mhm. Yeah, and how many times do you see someone and you're taking like their history and they're like, well, this doctor did this to me and I didn't get any help there, or and this and that. And and I know like there's circumstances out there that sometimes just don't work out. But if you come to me, you expect me to give you 100% of me to get you right, correct? And so, like, why would you not expect to give 100% of yourself to getting better? Like, if you want me to give 100%, then you better give 100%. And I tell you what, like, I'm going to be honest, it kind of pisses me off when people don't give 100%, but they expect me to, because they're only with me a short amount of time and I can't be there with them, babysitting them 100% of the time. But the results are flipping amazing when they give 100%. I put up a reel, was it last week, of the rancher that he had a broken femur and was walking with a limp. And I tell you what, in 17 days, this guy put in the work. He gave 110%. And in 17 days, he was able to walk without a limp. And that to me, like that's mental toughness. That guy, and he was doing it during his busy calving season. And so, like, doing the things that need to be done to get him to the goals that he wants to accomplish, which was to walk without a limp. Like, give 100%. Put the effort in. If you're going to spend the time and the money, put the effort in. Do it.
Well, and I think there's a point of that. People need to be they need to take ownership in their own journey.
Mhm.
And just like if you have a horse that just gets it and they're really good, those horses are usually few and far between, to the point where like I had a horse a few years ago that he was so good and he did things so well. I was just trying to not screw him up. Yeah, I was just giving him guidance on where he needed to go with his next move. And for stuff like that, like you can't really even take credit for that horse being great because they were already great before they got to you. You just can't screw them up. And so, really, like that same thing is true in this deal. When somebody wants to work and they just need some guidance, I mean, And that's when you can't even care about credit just in general. Some people that care too much about getting the credit for making someone great, and I think that's what's the hardest part about this is having to sell yourself to people or whatever when really I just want to help people and give them the guidance they need to reach their goals. And
Mhm.
that is an important part of healthcare is setting goals with that person and knowing where they want to go so you can get them there. And when they've been, because half the time I feel like I'm last chance you, and these people have been to all these other people and they're
Mhm.
telling me stuff, and it's almost half intimidating.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I'm still going to try to find that one thing, that one more thing that maybe somebody else didn't find. And I'm going to retry some other things and try to make them better and see what happens.
Mhm.
Like it's not on me to fix everybody. I'm not Jesus. I'll leave that to God. I'll just let him you know like Lord, please give me the talent and the ability to fix these
Mhm.
broken people. Please help. But
Mhm.
uh but I think, if you don't worry about the credit and you just try to give people guidance and like I said, it's way more fun when somebody wants to do stuff and they want to be hooked up, everything else. But I've also, in other areas of my life, had to realize that not everyone is built like me.
Mhm.
So, from a leadership perspective, not everybody is going to be able to go as hard as the next person.
Mhm.
They didn't, maybe they're just not built like you, or they didn't come from the same background as you. Everybody's different. So, everybody has different thresholds of what they can handle.
Mhm.
And so being on a team and being a good teammate, even if it's the person above you, how do you pick those people up when they're having a bad day? Because guess what? They're going to have some bad days too, whether they're at the top, not the people at the bottom are not the only ones that have bad days. And most of the bad days happen at the top. You just don't know about it most of the time.
Mhm.
So, how are you from, say, an assistant position going to help that person be the best that they can be from your position?
Mhm.
And that just takes a whole nother level of humility and maturity to function like that. Because again, some people they worry about their title and that's all that's important to them and their position and everything else, but really it should be about helping one another be their best, protecting one another from the outside things that try to get on the inside of a team.
Mhm.
All of that stuff that truly makes a difference rather than just being out for yourself.
Mhm. Yeah. You know, it's been really interesting for me to be in the geriatric population in healthcare again and, look at a lot of these people that are, some of them are my age. Okay, I turned 52 yesterday. And some of them are in the nursing home. That is a series of bad choices, a series of not taking your health care serious. That is a like lifetime of not making yourself do the hard stuff. What do they say? Like, do the hard stuff and your life will be easy. Do the easy stuff and your life will be hard. These people, most of them have not pushed themselves to make the right choices for their body. And now they're at the end of their life and they're stuck in a nursing home. And like, it's just a wake up call, really. It's been very, very good. For me, it's been very like eye opening to be there. And I think, healthcare is in a crisis, and we've got to take responsibility for our own
I didn't
So,
get that. Could you try again?
I
and
bet you
Siri
didn't.
wanted to help me.
Tell the next person. Tell the next person. Healthcare is in a crisis, Siri. Help us.
Help us, Siri.
Help us. It's a crisis. Lordy, send help.
Yeah. It's so interesting. So yesterday I'm walking down the hallway and a gal is in her room and she's having arm pain and the nurse's aide is in there and she's like, "Why are you crying?" And the lady's like, "My arm hurts." And do you know what that CNA's first response was? It wasn't, "Here, let me try to find a different position for your arm." It was, "Do you want a pain pill?" No, like position her, like don't just take a pill. Like do something physical to help this person. So, like we need a redo. But it needs to start with us first to do
It
that.
does. It does. I mean, you know, and some people might disagree with this, but if you're unhappy, uh, you just gonna take a happy pill? I mean, some
Right.
people do. Some people might. Some people figure that out. But seriously, how are you gonna function? And when you look back on your life, are you gonna be like, man, I gave it everything I got. I left no stone unturned, or are you gonna look back and be like, hey, you know what? I turned 40 and I just threw in the towel. That was enough for me.
Mhm.
And how do you really want to remember your life? Other people are gonna remember you how they want to remember you. You can't control how that looks. I mean, to a certain extent, at the end of the day, everybody's gonna have their own opinion about that stuff.
Mhm.
And you might meet 100 people, and there might be 100 different perspectives about you. I mean,
Mhm.
it's totally out of your control.
Mhm.
But when you look back, what are you gonna think about the stuff that you did in your life?
Yeah. I want to live my life with no regrets, whether it's in my health, in my business, in my parenting, just live it wholeheartedly and do what needs to be done. And I don't want to go to my deathbed, thinking I wish I'd have done this differently. I wish there are some things in my life that, yeah, some people probably would have regrets about. I'm not. I don't have regrets right now, at this point. And, it's a matter of really just making making myself do what I know needs to be done, and keeping with my routine every morning to keep my mind right. Our mind is one of our most precious things to protect. And so, what are you filling your mind with? Are you getting up first thing in the morning, turning on the TV and listening to all the bad things in the world? Honestly, we rarely watch TV. I probably should just let my Netflix subscription go. Like I don't watch the news. I don't listen to the news. Probably some of you are thinking, "Oh my goodness, she is not informed." Everybody around me kind of keeps me informed on those things. I can always count on my mother to tell me the political pulse of the nation, and um, yeah, you do need to stay informed, but you got to protect your mindset and you got to make sure that you are doing what you need to do to keep your mind right. And so every morning I get up, I'm doing my workout. I'm listening to something in my Bible app. I'm reading my Bible app. I'm doing a gratitude journal every morning. And I tell you what, you start feeling sorry for yourself or you start feeling down, sit down and write out things that you're thankful for. I mean, some of it is just like, I woke up today and there's people that didn't. Like it may need to be something that simple. Like you woke up today for a reason.
So speaking on that, it's great that you brought that up because in church this week, they talked about people that feel like they have nothing. And even if it is literally that simple to count one blessing
Mhm.
that, man, I woke up and got another day.
Mhm.
Guess what? New day. New day, new you. It's really, it's crazy how everybody, oh, it's not that, but is it? Is it that? It can be. I mean,
Mhm.
you can. Some people wake up. It's a new world every day. I mean, like to be those people who find the audacity trees and just harvest that fruit every day. I mean, holy cow! But, um, but really, and you touched on it a while ago. Nothing gets easier in life. Sorry if you're young and you're listening to this to burst your bubble. But what does happen is when you go through enough hard stuff, you just get better at doing hard things. It doesn't become easy. You just
Mhm.
get better at doing hard stuff.
Mhm.
And that's truly what growth in life is about.
Yeah.
And if you keep, I mean, the gratitude thing is a proven neurological factor that if you count your blessings, they go in your memory bank. So maybe that's the bank you should be worried about is your memory bank and not your other bank account. And you should be counting your blessings instead of counting your money
Mhm.
because I mean, happiness might be the true currency of the world anyway.
Amen. Yeah. Yeah. It is, when we worry about what our bank account is and we focus on the material things that, you know, I mean, they print money every day. It can go just as quick as it comes, and so we've got to focus on um what we're thankful for. And you can take your mindset about like the workout that you need to do every morning, and you can be like, yeah, it sucks, I got to go to the gym, or oh yeah, my coach wants me to do this, or yeah, I don't want to work out. But you know what? There's a lot of people that wish they could. There's a lot of people that are stuck in a wheelchair that wish they could get to the gym, that are stuck in a hospital bed, that wish they had the chance to do things over to get their body better. They wish that they could have the opportunity to go work out one more time. And so be thankful that you have the ability to be able to do that. Go down, go to the gym or your workout at home or whatever, and be thankful that you can, because there's a lot of people that can't.
So, just like you said, you're making deposits into your memory bank every day, whether you know it or not. So, are you going to deposit courage and faith and strength in that bank, or are you going to deposit something else?
Mhm.
Are you going to wake up on Monday and be like, ah, man, another Monday?
Mhm.
Or are you going to be like, man, it's a new day. Man,
Mhm.
it's a new week. May 1st was a few days ago. It's a new month.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter, like stuff in the past happens and you learn from it, but you can literally wake up and be like, my health starts now.
Mhm.
My abundance starts now. My fitness starts now. Whatever it is, it can start now. Even if you haven't done anything to help yourself out for months or years, my relationship starts now. It gets better right now.
Mhm.
And you just get back up. you get back on that horse and you tell yourself you can do it. And if you don't tell yourself that every day, well, I'll get to it tomorrow. Or yeah, and we have those days like, man, I wasn't very good today, or I'm just not gonna get to it. But
Mhm.
you can't hold that against yourself when the clock strikes midnight. Hey, you're gonna get to it. Today's the day to get to it. Today's the day to figure it out. Today's the day to put in that effort that you've been wanting to do, to start that business that you've been wanting to start, to buy you've been wanting to buy. Sorry, every husband that is dating the barrel racer for that one. But I mean, just plant your feet in the ground, put your stake in the ground, and say, it starts right now. And
Mhm.
I have to tell myself that. That's not a thing that I'm not up here preaching down to people. I'm here with you. And
Mhm.
we're all going through our own journey right now. And so then who are you surrounding yourself with?
Mhm.
That makes a huge difference. It's not like none of this stuff is cliche anymore. It's proven neurological facts
Mhm.
that what you tell yourself, who you surround yourself with. I mean, I'm sure that parents wear themselves out with careful who your friends are and everything when they tell. I don't have kids, but that's what my parents told me is like, watch who you hang out with. I don't like you hanging out with them. I don't like who you are when you hang out with them.
Mhm.
That makes a huge difference
Mhm.
because you're that average. I mean, you can call it cliche all day if you want, but it is proven fact.
Mhm.
And so, are you going to pick people that add life to you and add value to what you're trying to do and your goals and stuff? Not like you're using them. I mean, it's not like, oh, I'm only going to be friends with this person because they have something that I want. But I mean, those people can suck the life right out of you too, no matter
Mhm.
what.
Mhm.
But are you going to surround yourself with life-giving people, with like-minded people? Because you get in the wrong crowd, you're automatically just going to think like them
Mhm.
because it's going to be all that you know. And that's where, like, if you want to talk about today's youth and whatever, it's truly like they are surrounded by those thoughts constantly,
Mhm.
and maybe just need that one person to tell them something different, that they matter, and it'll flip their whole life around. I've had multiple conversations with athletes outside, like in the training room, through their rehab. They'll just tell you about their day. I mean, if you want to learn something, you go to the athletic, you learn everything there in the athletic training room. I mean, I probably know more about some of these kids than some of the very closest people to them,
Mhm.
just because they're comfortable and they'll tell you about their day. They'll tell you what they're struggling with, and it's an opportunity to be there for them.
Mhm.
And so I think just always policing yourself on what kind of impact am I making on the people around me, and what kind of impact are the people around me making on myself, is just something that people always have to be aware of.
Yeah, and Emma and I talk about it a lot, and Gracie and I talk about it, like being around people that want to see you grow and that aren't shaming you for being different and feeling weird. Because Emma has said that to me, Mom, I'm the weirdo on campus because I want more than to just figure out the next place I'm going to go drink at tonight. Like, I mean, she's a 20-year-old college kid. College kids, what are they looking for? They're looking for parties, how to find the easiest way out, get rich quick. This is, whatever. But like they're not looking for how are they going to grow? They should be. And most of them will eventually, I hope. But, it's okay to be that different person. And please don't shame somebody for being different and chasing their goals. Like don't shame your kid for being different, for thinking of bigger things. And, you know, like help others around you think about the bigger picture and help them see that there's so many opportunities out there, and it's just really our mind that limits us, and what we're worried that other people are going to think about us if we're doing something different. And so, like, let's let's just build each other up to do the best that we can. Let's push each other to do the best that we can, and really, iron sharpens iron. Get yourself around others that are thinking about growth and doing the stuff that needs to happen to be better every day.
That's what I love about the rodeo community is people are so willing to pick each other up, and you can say, oh, that they're still bullying and barrel racing and they're still, yeah, but most of the time that's like the 10% or 5% or 1% of stuff going on, when really there's more community and helping each other and loaning each other a piece of equipment or letting them ride their horse for this or that. I mean, you just don't always hear about that stuff.
Mhm.
Most of the time you just hear about the negative stuff, and then that shapes your perspective, and be like, man, this person, they complained about the ground, and then holy cow, here we go about the ground, and then that gives the producer a bad name all of a sudden. And I mean, like, I feel like when you talk about mindset, there's just a total line of one-liners out there that make it sound all cliche. Misery loves company. There's another one. I'll just throw that out there.
Mhm.
And you don't have to take part in it. You just don't.
Mhm.
And it's not that you don't listen to people and try to help them out, but you don't have to take part in somebody else's misery, especially when it is just absolutely sucking the life out of you and the things around everybody, and
Mhm.
you don't have to be a part of it.
Mhm.
But that's hard for people to realize, because we are compassionate. We do care about each other, and want what's best for each other, and want people to feel heard. So I mean, that's the next level of how do you help that person deal with their misery, and bring them out of it and bring people up.
Mhm.
That's what's important.
And I think a big part of it is holding them accountable. Like, is their misery created by them? Point it out. I mean, you can be nice about it, but be like, well, you're having digestive, you're having problems with your weight, or you're having belly issues. Like, really? Well, I just seen you suck down this 32-ounce Dr. Pepper. I just seen you eat this donut. Like, let's hold each other accountable. You can be like, yeah, I needed to get that better to get my life better. Like, that's that's how we can help each other too. Like, you don't have to just sit there and listen to them make excuses and be miserable. You can point it out, and then again, you don't have to be nasty about it, but just you can hold each other accountable.
A little bit of accountability goes a long ways, and when you surround yourself with the right type of friends, they will hold you accountable, because there's a standard. There's
Mm-hmm.
a standard for all of you, and if you're not making that standard, hey, you gotta pick it up. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's not like, hey, I'm embarrassed to be seen with. I mean, sometimes it is, but I mean, just a little bit of accountability goes a long ways. And those really good, true friends who are honest with you and will tell you stuff, whether you got something in your nose, or, hey man, that's, I mean, and they're just giving their honest opinion. You can do with that whatever you want,
Mm-hmm.
but if you truly love somebody, you will give them your absolute, honest, well thought out opinion about what's going on.
Amen. Well, I think that is a lot. And hopefully people came up with some little nuggets to take out of there. Um, my biggest thing is, you know, get a routine, stick with it. None of us like it. None of us want to hold ourselves accountable, but what other choice do we have? If we want to succeed, we've got to do it.
If you got your toes stepped on, I'm not gonna apologize. But book an appointment at pivotpoint.com. My toe got stepped on. We'll help you with that. We'll help you out with that. Get some steel toe boots if it becomes a problem. But yeah, I mean, like this stuff is important. What you tell yourself is important. So
Mhm.
with that, thank you all for listening. And as always, let your health be the pivot point to your success.